Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time, once again, for another neurotic noseful of noxious Netflix. As I talked about in my previous video, Netflix's series The Witcher is now a complete failure as demonstrated by the incredibly low audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes and shrinking viewership. The blame for the show's failure essentially rests with Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who is the showrunner for the series, casting director Sophie Holland, who admitted to using the show to push her own brand of woke feminist identity politics, and the show's other writers, who former writer Bo DeMaio claims mocked the source material as written by Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski. But guess what? As shared by Forbes, one of the show's producers, who happens to be Polish and is named Tomek Baginski, is blaming stupid Americans and emotional young people for the show's failures. There are times when not opening one's mouth is the right call. Times when silence is golden. Occasionally, simply not speaking your mind is better than word vomiting all over the internet. For instance, let me introduce you to Tomek Baginski, a producer on the Netflix fantasy drama The Witcher. Baginski should perhaps follow the advice of Maurice Switzer, who sagely wrote, quote, "It is better to remain silent at the risk of being thought a fool than to talk and remove all doubt about it," unquote. Speaking with a Polish news site whose name I can't pronounce, and as translated by fansite Redanian Intelligence, Baginski gave many reasons for changes to The Witcher show from the books and short stories, including production chaos and unforeseen issues like actors falling ill, understandable reasons, before saying this. When a series is made for a huge mass of viewers with different experiences from different parts of the world, and a large part of them are Americans, these simplifications not only make sense, they are necessary. It's painful for us, and for me too, but the higher level of nuance and complexity will have a smaller range. It won't reach people. Sometimes it may go too far, but we have to make these decisions and accept them. Do you hear that, fellow Americans? The, quote, higher level of nuance and complexity, unquote, in the books is simply going to be lost on us. We are too stupid. It's not the show's fault, but our own, and we must humbly receive our lumps. We were so confused by the books that we didn't turn them into bestsellers in the United States. Our poor empty heads were so rattled by the complexities of CDPR's games that we didn't turn the game franchise into one of the most lucrative and well-regulated RPGs in history. The poor creators of The Witcher were quite literally forced to dumb down the show because so many Americans were going to watch it, and clearly that requires changes from the books that make no sense and are confusing for totally different reasons. But not just Americans. No, changes to The Witcher that almost certainly drove away its star, Henry Cavill, and have seen the most egregious dip in viewership for its Season 3, Volume 2 episodes also lies squarely at the feet of young people and TikTok. Behold this insane exchange between the interviewer and Baginski. Baginski, the audience changes. It's not like it all changes. I see the quickening of the processes Jacek Dukash wrote about in his book After the Script. We resign from cause and effect chains, from linear narration, this book-like narration. When it comes to shows, the younger the public is, the logic of the plot is less significant. Interviewer, what is significant then? Baginski, just emotions. Just pure emotions, a bare emotional mix. Those people grew up on TikTok and YouTube. They jump from video to video. Interviewer, you're talking to such a person. Baginski, okay, so it's time to be serious. Dear children, what you do to yourself makes you less resilient for longer content, for long and complicated chains of cause and effect. Could a person be more condescending than this? The interviewer just told him that he was the demographic Baginski was describing, and he has the audacity to come back with a "dear children" response. If Baginski was hoping to score some anti-American points with a Polish audience, I'll just say this. Those of us Americans who are upset and disappointed with the show are upset on Poland's behalf. The work of Andrzej Sapkowski is based on Eastern European folklore to some degree, and the way this show has Americanized The Witcher, transforming it into murky generic fantasy, is yet another example of the kind of cultural imperialism that we are fighting against. In any case, I have a hard time blaming the writers when I see a producer make these comments. I'm certain that a great deal of the actual problems this show has are passed down from those in charge, with writers forced to make changes they otherwise wouldn't make. And it is entirely possible that some of the show's problems may indeed stem from jerks like Baginski who, in a very bigoted and racist manner, decided that Americans as a whole are just too stupid to understand The Witcher. Certainly there are writing problems as well, but this makes it obvious that the dumbing down of The Witcher was intentional and motivated by ludicrous business reasons and bizarre logic. If Americans and young people can't handle complex television, why are shows like Game of Thrones so popular? Why does Succession win so many awards? Why was House of the Dragon a hit? Americans enjoyed The Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and plenty of other smart shows. And young people, those addled by TikTok and Instagram, seem to enjoy many of these shows too. They are not driven purely by emotion. This is one of the most insulting interviews I've ever had the misfortune to read. Netflix should keep a tighter leash on its spokespeople. Better yet, hire creatives who don't have disdain for their audiences and the source material they're seeking to adapt. It isn't that hard. Tomek Baginski is probably one of the stupidest condescending jerks I have encountered to make such glaring and unsubstantiated racist and bigoted claims against Americans and young people in general. With people like this behind The Witcher, it really is no wonder why the show is a complete failure. And as I said in my previous video, I wholeheartedly agree with the various media outlets that have called upon Netflix to cancel The Witcher now and put it out to pasture. Baginski's comments have only further confirmed that the show is now nothing more than a load of garbage. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.